I never thought it would end like this. Not with Maya. Not after everything we'd been through. We were childhood sweethearts, for God's sake. We had dreams. We had plans. It was supposed to be forever. And for a while, it felt like it would be. But in the end, everything was just an illusion. I sat at the kitchen table, my fingers tracing the rim of my coffee mug. I hadn't touched it. I wasn't even sure why I was still here. The house, our house, was hers now. Or, at least, it was supposed to be. It had been the biggest decision I'd made in our divorce, giving her the house. I thought it would make things easier. Maybe if I just walked away from everything, I could start fresh. I couldn't stand the silence in here anymore. The air felt thick, like the walls were closing in. I kept hearing the laughter we used to share, the promises we made. But those were just echoes now. It felt like she'd taken all of it with her when she walked out. She never really wanted me, I whispered to myself, the words stinging more than I'd expected. She was always so perfect, so charming, so distant. I thought about the arguments we'd had. The ones where I tried to confront her, tried to figure out where we went wrong. She always deflected, smiled that smile of hers, and said the things I wanted to hear. But deep down, I knew she was hiding something. And I wasn't sure if I was ready to find out what it was. Why didn't I see it? I muttered, burying my face in my hands. My mind flashed back to that day, the day I handed her the house. The divorce had been messy. Maya insisted on keeping everything we'd built, and I was too tired to fight it. When we were deciding who would keep the house, I thought it'd be better for both of us if she just had it. I didn't want the reminder of our broken marriage hanging over me. I don't want anything, I told her, my voice barely above a whisper. I thought that would end things. But it didn't. The house was more than just bricks and mortar, it was the last piece of the puzzle that would break me. I could still see her face that day, smiling as if she won some victory. She didn't even thank me. She just nodded, as if everything was in its right place. I should have known, I said to no one in particular. I should have known that was the start of the end. I stood up from the table, my hands shaking. The house that should have been mine, was nothing more than a trap. And I had handed her the key. I didn't know it then, but that decision would be the one that unraveled everything I thought I knew about love, trust, and Maya. The house wasn't just a home, it was a time bomb. And now that it was in her hands, I realized that I hadn't just given her property. I had given her the power to destroy everything. But it wasn't over. Not yet. I had a feeling I was about to find out just how far she was willing to go to keep her secrets buried. I hadn't heard from Maya since the divorce. The silence between us had stretched out longer than I ever imagined. But then, one evening, just as I was getting comfortable in my new, quiet routine, my phone rang. It was her. I stared at the screen for a moment, frozen. My thumb hovered over the green button, my mind racing with questions I didn't want to answer. Why was she calling me? What could she possibly want after everything? But despite the hesitation, I answered. Hello? Jake? Her voice was shaky, different from the cool, composed tone I remembered. I need your help. I let out a long breath, trying to stay calm. Maya, It's the house. Something's wrong with it. I furrowed my brow, sitting up straighter. What do you mean, wrong with it? I don't know. There's something off about it. It's falling apart. The foundation's cracking. The ceiling's leaking, and I'm starting to think it's, she paused, her voice breaking. I think it's dangerous. I laughed, almost bitterly. Dangerous? Maya, that house was perfect when I gave it to you. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not making this up, Jake, she snapped, the desperation creeping into her voice. I swear, something's wrong. I need you to come look at it. Please. Her plea hit me harder than I expected. Something about the way she said it, so helpless, didn't sit right. Part of me wanted to tell her that I didn't owe her anything anymore, but another part of me. I didn't know. I didn't know what she had done to me, but I could still feel a pull towards her. I stood up, pacing the room. Maya, why didn't you tell me about this before? Why didn't you? I didn't want to bother you, she interrupted quickly. But I think I'm in over my head now. I need help. I paused, feeling the weight of her words. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to step foot in that house again. The house that was supposed to be her fresh start. The house I had given her, thinking it would ease the divorce. But something about her voice made me hesitate. She wasn't the same person I knew, and neither was I. I had to know what was going on. Fine, I said finally, my voice harder than I intended. I'll be there in an hour. There was silence on the other end before she replied, almost too quietly, thank you, Jake. I hung up and grabbed my coat, the unease settling deep in my chest. I had no idea what I was walking into, but I couldn't ignore the feeling gnawing at me. When I pulled up to the house, I barely recognized it. The once pristine, welcoming exterior now looked neglected. The grass was overgrown, the paint peeling in places. There was a heaviness to the air, as if the house itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to break. I hesitated before stepping up to the door, unsure of what to expect. I knocked. No answer. I knocked again, harder this time. Finally, the door creaked open, and there she was. Maya. She looked different. Her hair was a mess, her eyes tired and red, like she hadn't been sleeping. There was a vulnerability in her face that I hadn't seen in years. Jake, she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. Thank you for coming. I nodded, stepping inside. The smell of musty air hit me first, and the dim lighting made everything feel like it was trapped in a haze. I don't get it, Maya, I said, looking around. This place was fine when I left it. What happened? She led me through the living room, and that's when I saw it. The wall, cracked. A large fissure running down the middle, as if the house had literally split in two. I don't know, she muttered, staring at the crack. It wasn't like this before. I knelt down, touching the wall, running my fingers along the jagged edge. It was cold. Too cold. My breath caught in my throat as I looked up at her. Did you ever check the foundation? The pipes? Anything? This isn't just old age, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I didn't think it needed fixing. I thought it was just normal wear and tear, she said, her voice barely audible. But this isn't normal, Jake. It's like something's eating away at it. I stood up, looking around. The more I looked, the more it felt wrong. Have you had anyone out here to inspect it? I asked. No, she answered quickly, almost too quickly. I didn't think it was necessary. I thought I could handle it. I didn't know what to say. Something wasn't adding up, but I couldn't put my finger on it. Maya, this place, I shook my head. There's something going on here. And it's not just the house. She looked up at me, her eyes wide, filled with something that was halfway between fear and desperation. I need your help, Jake. I don't know who else to turn to. I don't know what to do. I stood there, staring at her. I didn't want to get involved. I didn't want to care. But there was something about the way she looked at me, about the situation itself, that I couldn't ignore. I'll look into it, I said reluctantly. But this is the last time, Maya. I'm done after this. Her face softened, and for the first time in a long time, I saw her smile. But even that felt off. Something was wrong, and I couldn't shake the feeling that it was all connected. I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right about this whole situation. The house had been perfect when I gave it to her. There was no reason for it to fall apart now. But Maya's desperation had planted a seed of doubt in my mind. What had I missed? What had she missed? And most importantly, what was really happening here? I spent the next few days researching everything I could about the house. I started with the land. It didn't take long before I discovered the house was built on property with a strange history, nothing overtly criminal, but enough to make my skin crawl. The previous owner had left without a trace, and the records on the land were incomplete. There were no mentions of the foundation, no real inspections on file. It seemed like the house had been built quickly, without the proper checks. The more I dug, the more I realized the house was hiding its own secrets. I needed to confront Maya again. This wasn't just some faulty pipes or cracks in the walls, it was something deeper. I showed up at her door again, this time with a stack of papers in hand. The moment she saw me, her face lit up, but I didn't return the smile. I've been looking into it, I said, pushing past her into the house. There's something off about this place. She closed the door behind me, her expression unreadable. What do you mean? Who built this house, Maya? Who really built it? Her eyes flickered for a moment, but she quickly composed herself. I don't know. You knew the realtor who sold it to us. Why are you asking this now? I shoved the papers onto the table in front of her. Because the more I look into it, the less I believe it was just a simple mistake. This house was built fast, with cheap materials. The foundation was probably rushed. The previous owners? They disappeared. There's no record of any major repairs. This house, this entire property, it's not what it seems. Maya took a step back, her face blanching. Jake, you're overreacting. It's just a house. Nothing is wrong with it. No, I said, my voice growing colder. There's something wrong with you, Maya. And there's something wrong with this house. I don't know what you're hiding, but I'm going to find out. She shook her head, stepping closer. I'm not hiding anything, Jake. You're being paranoid. You think I'm paranoid? I'm being realistic, I shot back, frustration building. This house wasn't just built for us, it was built to trap us. Her gaze faltered, just for a second, before she regained her composure. She stared at the papers in front of her, her lips pressed tight, as if debating whether or not to tell me something. I didn't want you to find out, she said softly. But What? I interrupted, impatient. What are you talking about? I was trying to protect you, she whispered. This house, it wasn't just handed to me. My family, they were involved. They're the ones who. I didn't want you to know this. I thought I could fix it before it came to this point. I froze, staring at her. What the hell are you saying? She looked away, biting her lip, before speaking again, her voice barely audible. My family. They were involved in some things. They made deals. Shady ones. The kind of deals that come back to haunt you. I stared at her, trying to process what she was telling me. Your family? What kind of deals? What does that have to do with this house? I didn't know, not at first. But when we got the house, I started to notice things, small things at first. The land. The contracts. There were debts tied to it. And then it all came back. The people they owed, Jake, they were looking for something. A cold wave of realization washed over me. You're saying this house, everything about it, is connected to your family's mess? She nodded slowly, her eyes filled with guilt. I didn't want it to be like this. I wanted to protect you, I swear. But I can't change it now. The house, the land, it's cursed. The foundation, it's all tied to things I didn't understand when I agreed to take it. I swallowed hard. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The walls around me felt like they were closing in. Why didn't you tell me? I asked, my voice shaking with anger. Why didn't you tell me any of this before, Mia? I thought I could fix it, she whispered. I thought if I could just handle it on my own, I could protect us both from the truth. I ran my hands through my hair, trying to process everything. The betrayal stung deeper than I expected. Maya, my wife, my childhood sweetheart, had kept all of this from me. She had kept me in the dark while I handed her the one thing I thought would set us both free. But she hadn't just kept secrets, she had been part of the problem. And now, I was tangled in her family's web, with no idea how to get out. I looked her in the eyes, my heart heavy with regret. You should have told me, Maya. You should have warned me about what I was walking into. Because now, I'm stuck cleaning up the mess that you and your family created. She flinched, but there was no apology in her eyes. Just a cold, distant look. A look that reminded me why I'd fallen out of love with her in the first place. We're both stuck now, she said quietly. I wanted to scream at her, tell her how much she had betrayed me, but I didn't. I didn't need to. The truth was already out. And now I had to figure out what to do with it. I didn't know where to go from here. Maya's words kept echoing in my head, but I couldn't make sense of them. The house, her family's debt, the shady deals, it all felt like one tangled mess that I had been too blind to see. But now that I knew, now that I had the truth, it was like someone had pulled the rug out from under me. I left Maya's house in a daze, the weight of her confession still pressing down on me. I couldn't shake the feeling that I'd been played, not just by Maya, but by everything. The house wasn't a gift. It wasn't a place to build a future with her, it was a trap. But it wasn't just the house I needed to understand. It was everything surrounding it. Everything Maya's family had hidden. So, I did the only thing I could think to do, I went after the truth. I started digging into her family's history. It wasn't hard to find out more about the previous owners of the house. A little research led me to a name, Mark Evans. It sounded harmless enough. But when I dug deeper, I found that his life hadn't been as clean as it seemed. There were rumors, whispers about shady deals and debts he'd left behind when he vanished. I didn't know what to make of it, so I went to the county office to dig through the property records. After a few hours, I found something that made my stomach drop. The deed to the house wasn't just in Maya's name, it had been transferred from Mark Evans to a third party. Someone anonymous. The name on the paperwork was completely blank, like someone had erased it on purpose. I stared at the document, feeling the pieces of the puzzle start to fall into place. This wasn't just a house. It wasn't just bad luck. This was something more. Someone was behind all of this, pulling strings, making sure everything fell apart. And I had a feeling that someone wasn't far from me. Later that evening, I went back to Maya's house. The anger had been bubbling inside me all day, and I couldn't hold it in anymore. I needed answers. I needed her to tell me everything. She was sitting in the same spot as before, staring at the cracks in the walls, like they were the only thing left that mattered. When I stepped inside, she didn't even look up. "You've been digging again, haven't you?" she asked quietly. I didn't answer. Instead, I tossed the property records on the table in front of her. "Who's Mark Evans?" I demanded. "Why is his name on the deed, and why did it get transferred to a third party with no name? Why didn't you tell me about this?" Maya's face drained of color as she picked up the papers, her fingers trembling. She hesitated before speaking, like she was carefully choosing her words. "Mark Evans," she swallowed hard. "He was my uncle." I blinked, thrown off guard. "Your uncle? You never told me about him. I didn't want you to know." She looked away, her voice cracking. "He wasn't a good man, Jake. He owed money to the wrong people. People who didn't care about anything but getting paid. And he had connections to people who could do things. Dangerous things." I crossed my arms, feeling a pit form in my stomach. "So, you're saying this house, it was all tied up in your family's debt?" "Yes," she whispered. "When we bought it, I didn't know how deep it went. I didn't know about the people Mark owed or the people who would come after me once I took the house. But it's been happening ever since we moved in." She sounded so helpless, and for a second, I almost felt sorry for her. But then the rage surged back. "You knew about this and didn't tell me? You made me think we were starting over, Maya. You dragged me into this mess." "I didn't want to," she said, her voice breaking. "I thought if I just kept it together, if I didn't involve you, I could fix it. I didn't want to destroy what we had. I didn't want to ruin you, too." I shook my head, frustrated. "And now look at us. Look at this house. Look at what you've done. This wasn't just some little mistake, Maya. This was a damn time bomb, and I handed you the key." Her eyes welled with tears, and she looked away. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I never meant for it to get this bad." I took a step forward, my voice cold. "Well, it is this bad. And now I'm the one who has to clean up your mess." I turned to leave, but before I could reach the door, Maya grabbed my arm. "Jake, please. Please don't leave me like this. I don't know who to trust anymore. They're after me. They're watching everything I do. And I don't know what to do." I felt the weight of her words, but the anger was still there, burning through me. She had dragged me into this, made me feel like everything was fine when it wasn't. But then there was the look in her eyes, the desperation, the fear. "Why didn't you tell me all of this from the start, Maya?" I asked, my voice quieter now, but the sting of betrayal still sharp. "You said you were trying to protect me. But you've been lying to me the whole time." "I was protecting myself," she whispered. "I didn't know how to ask for help. I didn't know who to trust anymore. I thought I could fix it on my own. But I can't." I stood there, staring at her. The woman I once knew, the woman I thought I could trust, was falling apart in front of me. And I wasn't sure if I could help her anymore. But one thing was certain, I couldn't walk away now. Not with everything at stake. Not when the truth was finally coming out. I didn't know why I stayed. I should have walked out the moment she grabbed my arm. I should have left her to her mess, to the trap she'd set for herself. But instead, here I was, standing in a broken house that had become a symbol of everything I couldn't escape. Her words, her plea, it all tugged at something inside me. I didn't want to care. I shouldn't have cared. But here I was. I can't do this on my own, Jake, Maya said, her voice soft, almost pleading. I know I screwed up. I know I hurt you. But please, don't walk away. Not now. Not when things are this bad. Her eyes were wide, desperate, filled with more fear than I'd ever seen. It wasn't the same Maya who had once seemed so untouchable. This was someone who had lost control, someone who didn't know how to fix the mess she created. I stood there for a moment, just staring at her. There was a time when I would have done anything for her. When I would have believed every word she said. But now? Now, everything felt like a lie. You don't get it, do you? I finally said, my voice low. You think I can just walk in and fix this for you? You've dragged me into this, Maya. And now I'm supposed to play the hero? I never wanted you to be the hero, she whispered. I just wanted your help. I thought if I could handle it myself, you'd never have to know the truth. But I was wrong, and I'm sorry. I ran a hand through my hair, feeling a mixture of anger and confusion building inside me. You think saying sorry is enough? You think you can just say you're sorry, and everything will be okay? She took a step toward me, her voice breaking. I don't know what else to say, Jake. I can't undo what's been done. I know I ruined everything. But you're the only one I have left. I could see the tears welling up in her eyes. And that was it, wasn't it? The guilt was there, the realization that she'd pushed me too far. She was lost, and she was hoping I could save her. But the truth was, I didn't know if I could save myself, let alone her. I didn't ask for this, Maya, I said, my voice quieter now, the anger fading into something else, something more painful. I didn't ask for any of this. And I can't keep cleaning up your mess just because you're scared. She stepped back, her face crumpling as the tears started to fall. I wanted to look away, but I couldn't. I couldn't just ignore the woman I had loved, no matter how much I wanted to. I know you're angry, she whispered. I know you hate me right now. But please. I need you. I was silent for a long moment, trying to process everything. The pain. The betrayal. The fear. She was right. I was angry. I hated her for everything she'd kept from me, for dragging me into this world I never asked to be part of. But somewhere beneath all of that, there was still a part of me that cared. A part of me that wanted to believe in her again. Why didn't you tell me earlier, Maya? I asked, the question weighing heavy on me. Why didn't you just trust me from the start? I thought I could handle it, she said, shaking her head. I thought I could protect you from it. But I was wrong. I was scared. Scared of losing you. Scared of losing everything. Her words hit me harder than I expected. I had to look away, my chest tightening. It wasn't just the house anymore. It was everything we had built, everything that had been destroyed between us. Trust, love, everything was shattered. But was there still a chance for us? Was there still something worth saving? I met her eyes, and for the first time in a long while, I saw something that wasn't just guilt or desperation. It was real fear. The kind of fear that makes you do things you can't take back. I don't know if I can forgive you, Maya, I said, my voice rough. I don't know if I can forget what you've done. I don't want you to forgive me right away, she whispered. I just want you to help me fix this. Please, Jake. I can't do it without you. I wanted to say no. I wanted to walk away. But I didn't. I couldn't. The part of me that once loved her, loved the idea of us, was still there, even if it was buried beneath everything else. "I'll help you," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "But this is the last time, Maya. The last time I help you with this." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you. Thank you for giving me one last chance." I didn't know if it was the right decision. I didn't know if helping her would change anything. But one thing was clear, I couldn't walk away. Not yet. Not when there were still so many unanswered questions. The house was just the beginning. There were darker things at play, and if we were going to get out of this alive, we'd need to face them together. I had no idea what I was getting myself into when I agreed to help Maya. I thought maybe, just maybe, there was a chance to salvage something from the wreckage of our marriage. Maybe I could fix this house, fix her, fix us. But everything had been built on lies, and I was too deep in it now to back out. That night, I stayed up late, going over everything again. The deeds, the records, the things Maya had said. Something didn't sit right. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this story than she was telling me. Maybe it was the way she'd looked at me earlier, the way she'd held back certain details. There was still so much she hadn't shared. I couldn't trust her. Not completely. I decided to do what I should have done from the beginning, dig deeper. I couldn't let myself be pulled back into the web of her lies again. If I was going to help her, I needed to know the full truth. The next morning, I left early and went straight to a private investigator. It wasn't the most reliable option, but I needed answers. The man, a grizzled, middle-aged guy with a permanent scowl, listened to me explain the situation without interrupting. When I was done, he leaned back in his chair, eyeing me with suspicion. "You sure you want to go down this road?" he asked, his voice rough. "Once you start digging, you might not like what you find." "I don't have a choice," I replied, staring at him. "I need to know what's going on." He studied me for a moment longer before nodding. "All right. I'll look into it. Give me a few days." A few days passed in a blur. I spent my time trying to help Maya with the house, but every step I took toward fixing it felt like walking through quicksand. The house wasn't just physically falling apart, it was like the very foundation of our lives had been shaken, and every time I thought I was rebuilding, I only found more cracks. Then, on the third day, I got the call. The investigator had found something that changed everything. I couldn't ignore the tight knot of dread that settled in my chest as I listened to him speak. "There's more to your wife's family than you know," he said, his voice grave. "A lot more. Your suspicions were right. Her uncle, Mark Evans, wasn't just some bad businessman. He was deeply involved in criminal activity. There were ties to organized crime, debt collectors, and, worst of all, a hidden offshore account. Maya's family didn't just owe money, they were involved in laundering it." I felt my blood run cold. "What do you mean, laundering money?" "Your wife's family was using the house to hide assets. And it wasn't just a simple mistake. Maya might not have known about the extent of it, but she's caught in the middle of something much bigger than you think." I couldn't breathe. Betrayal hit me like a ton of bricks. The house was never just a home. It was a hiding place for dirty money, a symbol of everything Maya's family had kept hidden from me. "You're saying Maya's involved in this?" I asked, struggling to keep my voice steady. "She might not know the full scope, but she's tied to it now. Her name's on everything. And whoever's coming after her, they're not coming for the house, Jake. They're coming for what's inside it. They want the money. They want what your wife's family hid there." I felt like the ground beneath me was cracking open. All this time, I had been focusing on the wrong thing. I'd been so focused on the house, on Maya's cries for help, that I had completely ignored the fact that I was dealing with a much bigger problem, something that had been buried under lies and deceit. Maya didn't tell me any of this, I muttered, the realization sinking in like a knife in my gut. She said she didn't know about the debts. I don't know what she knows, the investigator said. But the deeper you go, the more you'll find. I suggest you be careful, Jake. The people involved in this aren't the type you want to cross. I hung up the phone, my mind spinning. I couldn't process everything at once. My first instinct was to confront Maya, demand the truth. But I knew that wouldn't work. She had been hiding things from me for so long, and now that I knew the full extent of it, I wasn't sure I could trust her at all. That night, I went back to Maya's house, the papers the investigator had given me still clutched in my hand. The air inside felt suffocating as I walked through the front door. She was sitting at the kitchen table again, just like the first time I'd seen her after our argument. "Jake," she said quietly, her eyes flicking to the papers in my hand. "What's going on?" I didn't answer immediately. Instead, I dropped the papers onto the table, letting them slide toward her. Her face went pale as she picked them up, scanning the documents. "I know everything, Maya," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "The money. The debts. The lies. You were hiding it from me. From us." She looked at me, her eyes wide with shock. "Jake, No," I cut her off, shaking my head. "I don't want to hear it. I want the truth. All of it. You've been lying to me this entire time." "I never meant for it to go this far," she said, her voice trembling. "I didn't know about the extent of it. I didn't know it would hurt you." Her words hit me like a slap, but they didn't sting like they used to. The hurt had changed into something else, something darker. "You didn't know? Or you didn't care?" I asked coldly. "How many times are you going to make excuses for what you've done, Maya? How many times are you going to keep dragging me into your mess?" She reached for my hand, but I pulled away, my anger flaring. "You lied to me," I said, my voice firm. "I'm done, Maya. I can't keep doing this with you. I can't keep being the one who cleans up after you." I turned and walked out the door, leaving her standing there, broken and exposed. And for the first time, I felt nothing. No pity. No regret. Just a cold emptiness where the love for her used to be. I thought walking away from Maya would be the hardest part. But the moment I slammed that door behind me, the world felt different. The house, the lies, her manipulation, they no longer had a hold on me. For the first time in a long time, I was free. Or at least, that's what I wanted to believe. But freedom wasn't as easy as I thought. No matter how far I tried to run from Maya's mess, the threads of everything she'd tied me to kept pulling me back. The house was still there, its dark history still looming over me. And now, the people who had been after her were after me. I couldn't pretend I hadn't seen it coming. The investigator had warned me, but I hadn't really understood what it meant until I felt the weight of it myself. The past few days had been a blur, no sleep, no peace. There was always someone watching, always someone following. I couldn't ignore it any longer. I had to take control. I met with a lawyer the next morning, a no-nonsense woman named Claire who had seen everything. The moment I sat down in her office, she didn't waste any time. "I've looked over the papers," she said, flipping through the file. "You're right. This isn't just about a house. It's about what's buried inside it. Money, debts, secrets. Maya's family isn't just in financial trouble, they're involved in something much bigger. I need to get out from under it, I said, my voice steady. I need to make sure I'm not dragged down with them. Claire nodded. You're already in deeper than you think. Your name's attached to everything now. If Maya's family gets in trouble, you're going to be caught in the middle. But we can work with it. We'll make sure the house stays out of your name, and we'll figure out how to protect you from the fallout. Protect me? I echoed. From what? From them? From Maya? Both, she said, her eyes serious. These people aren't the kind who forget easily. The longer you stay involved with her, the more you'll be tied to whatever's coming. The next few days were spent in a blur of meetings, phone calls, and decisions I never wanted to make. I was taking action, I was moving forward, but each step felt like I was sinking deeper. The house was no longer just a property, it was a battlefield, and I was stuck in the middle of it. I couldn't escape it. Then came the phone call. I didn't recognize the number, but I answered anyway, not knowing what to expect. A voice, unfamiliar and cold, spoke on the other end. You're in over your head, Jake. My stomach dropped. Who is this? I demanded. A friend of Maya's, the voice replied. Someone who knows what you're getting into. You think you can walk away from this? You think you can just drop Maya and all her problems and disappear? I didn't say anything at first. The room felt too small, the walls closing in. You don't know what's coming for you, the voice continued. And you can't hide from it. It's already too late. I hung up, my heart racing. The calm that had settled over me earlier was gone, replaced with a gnawing sense of dread. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. I went back to the house that evening, not sure what I was hoping to find. I wasn't going back to fix things with Maya, I was past that. But there was something else. Something unfinished. The front door was cracked open when I arrived, and a chill ran down my spine. Maya? I called out, but the house was eerily silent. I stepped inside, the air heavy with the same oppressive feeling it had had since I first set foot in it. I wasn't sure why I was here. Maybe it was to face what I had been avoiding, what I had refused to acknowledge for so long. The house wasn't just a house. It was a symbol. A symbol of everything I had lost. Of Maya's betrayal. Of my own failure to see what was happening before it was too late. As I walked through the house, I felt the weight of it all pressing down on me. The cracks in the walls. The creaking floorboards. Everything about this place felt wrong. But it wasn't just the house, it was everything Maya had left behind. She wasn't here, and for a second, I almost hoped she never came back. I didn't want to deal with her anymore. But I knew better. She would return, just like everything else in my life that I had tried to escape. I stood in the middle of the living room, looking around at the broken pieces of a life I had once thought would be perfect. I had let go of her, but the damage was still there, lingering. And now, it was up to me to fix what was left. I didn't know what the future held, or if I could ever fully escape the consequences of everything Maya had pulled me into. But one thing was clear, I was no longer the person I was when I first walked into this house. I was no longer the naive fool who believed in happy endings. I was someone new now. Someone who understood the true cost of betrayal. Someone who wasn't afraid to face the darkness, even if it meant walking into it alone. I couldn't believe I was back here. The same house that had once been a symbol of our future, our dreams, now stood before me like a reminder of everything I'd lost. But it wasn't just the house that haunted me, it was Maya. I had promised myself I was done with her, that I'd never let her back into my life. But here I was, standing on the threshold of the house, one final time. I couldn't ignore it any longer. The phone call I'd received earlier that week, the cryptic warning from someone who claimed to know what was happening, had shaken me. It had been too much like everything Maya had said in the past, too much like the manipulation I had once fallen for. But this time, I wasn't going to let her control me. I wasn't going to let her pull me back into the mess she created. I knocked, but the door opened before I could do it again. Maya stood in front of me, her face pale, eyes red from crying. She had been crying a lot lately, I noticed. For a second, I almost felt sorry for her. But I pushed the feeling away. I couldn't afford to feel anything for her anymore. "Jake," she whispered, voice barely audible. "You came. I'm here, Maya. But this is it. I'm done after this." She stepped aside, letting me into the house. The silence between us felt heavy, suffocating, like it had been there for years. I couldn't even look at her without feeling that familiar ache of betrayal. "I never wanted it to end like this," she said, her voice cracking. "I never wanted to drag you into this, Jake. I thought I could fix it. But I was wrong. I'm so sorry." I didn't respond. What was the point? What difference did it make now? "You've already ruined everything, Maya," I said, my words coming out colder than I intended. "You've taken so much from me, our marriage, my peace of mind, my trust. And now you want me to feel sorry for you? After everything?" "I didn't mean to hurt you," she said, stepping closer. Her hand reached for mine, but I pulled it away before she could touch me. "I didn't mean to drag you into this. But I didn't know how to fix it. I didn't know what to do." I stared at her, my anger boiling over. "You didn't know what to do? How many lies did you tell me, Maya? How many times did you pretend everything was fine while you were destroying me from the inside?" "I thought you would leave me if I told you the truth," she said, her voice breaking. "I thought you would hate me forever." "Maybe I would have," I replied, the words bitter on my tongue. "But you didn't even give me the chance to choose, did you? You kept everything from me. You lied to my face, and now you want me to forgive you?" Her eyes welled with tears again, but I couldn't bring myself to care. I couldn't care anymore. "I'm not here for your apology," I said firmly, my voice cutting through the silence. "I'm here because I want answers. I want to know why you did this. Why you dragged me into your mess. I want to know what was so important that you couldn't tell me the truth." She looked down, her hands wringing together. "I didn't think I had a choice," she whispered. "I didn't think I could trust anyone." "You couldn't trust me?" I asked incredulously. "You couldn't trust the person who stood by you through everything? The person who loved you, who believed in you?" "I thought I was protecting you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I thought if I just kept quiet, if I just handled it on my own, you'd be safe. I thought I could fix everything before it got this far." "You can't fix everything, Maya," I said harshly. "And you can't fix me either. Not anymore." The words hung in the air between us, sharp and heavy. I saw the hurt in her eyes, but I also saw something else. Desperation. She was trying to make me feel guilty. She was trying to pull me back into her world, but I wasn't going to let her. Not this time. "You've done enough," I said coldly. "I'm done helping you. I'm done caring." Her shoulders slumped, and for a moment, I thought she might break down. But she didn't. Instead, she took a step back, her face turning blank, as if she had already accepted the reality of it all. Jake, she whispered, her voice barely audible. I don't know what's next. I don't know how to fix this. But I need you to know. I never meant to hurt you. I nodded, my eyes hard. It's too late for apologies. I've heard enough of them. I turned to walk away, but she stopped me with a soft, almost desperate voice. Please. Don't leave like this. I paused but didn't turn around. The weight of everything, the lies, the heartbreak, the betrayal, was too much. I couldn't stay. Not here. Not with her. Not with the memory of what we once were. I'm not leaving you because of what you did, I said quietly, but firmly. I'm leaving because I finally understand. I can't keep letting you break me. I can't keep letting you use me to fix what's broken in your life. You need to fix it on your own. I need to fix me. I walked out, the door closing behind me with a finality I couldn't ignore. It felt like the end. Not just of us, but of everything I had been holding on to. And as I stepped out into the cold night, I realized that for the first time in a long time, I wasn't running anymore. I wasn't fighting. I was just walking away. And I was never going to look back. I didn't expect it to feel this empty. I thought walking away from Maya, from the house, from all of it, would give me the peace I had been searching for. But as the days passed, I found that the silence was louder than I ever imagined. The space that had once been filled with our memories now felt hollow, like a place I'd never truly belonged. I spent a lot of time alone in the aftermath, trying to put the pieces of myself back together. The house, the betrayal, Maya's lies, it had all taken so much from me. But as time passed, I began to realize something. It wasn't the house that had broken me. It was the parts of myself I had given away. The trust, the love, the pieces of my heart I'd handed to someone who never deserved them. I kept the house. It had become a symbol of everything I had lost, but it was also a symbol of what I had gained. The truth. The clarity. I could have sold it, walked away entirely, but something inside me told me to hold on to it. To rebuild, not the house, but myself. The walls had been stripped of the cracks Maya had left behind. The air no longer felt suffocating. It was just a house now. A building, nothing more. But I spent hours there every day, fixing what I could. There was a part of me that needed to take control over something, to prove to myself that I wasn't broken. That I wasn't defined by the past. One evening, as I stood in the living room, staring out the window, I realized something simple, but profound. I had survived. Maya's betrayal, the lies, the collapse of everything I thought I knew, it had almost broken me. But it didn't. I was still standing. Still breathing. And that was enough. I had let go of her. Of everything we had built. And now, I was beginning to rebuild myself. I couldn't forget Maya entirely. I didn't think I ever would. She had been part of my life for so long, part of who I thought I was. But the pain, the hurt, the anger, it had faded. In its place, there was something else. A quiet acceptance. A peace that wasn't dependent on anyone else. I wasn't waiting for her to fix anything. I wasn't waiting for any kind of apology. I was learning to fix myself. I'd left her behind, and in doing so, I had left behind the person I once was, the person who believed in fairy tales and happy endings. And as I stood there, looking at the house that had been both a prison and a sanctuary, I knew that I was finally free. I didn't need closure. I didn't need her to tell me she was sorry. I didn't need anything from the past. I had everything I needed right in front of me. The house wasn't perfect. It never would be. But neither was I. And that was okay. I had learned to forgive, not for her, but for myself. To move on, not because she deserved it, but because I did. And that was the most important thing I could do. For the first time in years, I felt the weight of the past lift. I could breathe. I could live. It wasn't perfect. But it was mine. And that was enough.